Morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Then we'll now zoom to item 2, which is apology and roll call. Braking, can you take us through?
Thank you, Chairperson. Good morning, honorable members. Good morning, the representative from Pick n Pay, Ms. Mishinga and Mr. Pierce. Good morning, colleagues from the department. Chairperson, the apologies that I have received right now, it's Honorable Tomelang, who is attending the summit. And then I also have the apology for Honorable Mieni. He is running late. He indicated that he will join at around about 10:30 to 11. And on the platform so far, we've got you, Chairperson, got Honorable April, we've got Honorable Jacobs, Honorable Hendricks, Honorable Nkosi Tuli, Honorable de Villiers. So those are the members that are on the platform as of now, Chairperson. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Braking. The next item is the adoption of the agenda. Anyone for the mover of the adoption of the agenda, honorable members?
Morning, Chair. I move for the adoption of the agenda.
Thank you. Any seconder, honorable members, for the adoption of the agenda? Honorable April, can you second, please? Who is on the platform? Can I have a seconder for the adoption of the agenda, honorable members?
Nkosi seconded.
Thank you, Honorable Nkosi Tuli. The agenda is duly adopted. We'll now move to the next item where we're going to receive briefing by Pick n Pay. I'm now inviting you, our guest, to take us through your presentations. Thank you.
Good morning, honorable members, and thank you very much for the opportunity for Pick n Pay to present to you. I'd like to introduce myself once again. My name is Mishinga Seyuba Kombo. I'm the head of enterprise and supplier development, and I'm sitting here with my colleague and boss, the executive responsible for environment, social, and governance, who I'd like to hand over, Mr. Vaughan Pierce.
Morning, Honorable Chairperson, Honorable Ministers, Mr. Kunene. Thank you very much for the opportunity to talk to you all this morning. As my colleague Mishinga has introduced herself, I'm the executive responsible for ESG, which is environmental social governance here at Pick n Pay. And the SMME portfolio sits within my department. I work closely with my colleague Mishinga and my manager Nduvuyo, who sits up in Johannesburg, in our Johannesburg office. I'm privileged and honored to be able to run you through a presentation of the work that Pick n Pay is doing in the SMME space, and to share highlights of everything that we've done, and look forward to feedback, interaction, and questions from yourselves. I think before we start, I'd just like to give you an overview of ESG. ESG, more and more companies are creating roles within their executive and on their boards for ESG executives, which stands for environmental social governance. Every business, especially JSE businesses, are now going to be looking at environments and how the company impacts on the environment, how a company deals with waste management, how it deals with electricity, water, and all the natural and environmental resources that we are wholly and solely reliant upon. and what impact our businesses, positive or negative, is having on the environment. The social aspect of our portfolio deals with all the societal impacts. But firstly, our employees. How is the company investing in its employees? How is it training its employees? How is it upskilling and ensuring that the employees are well trained for their respective roles in the organization? Are we looking at health and safety? Are we ensuring that the staff are on adequate medical aid with pension and all the basic conditions of employment are met? But the biggest scope is our impact on society and the communities that we serve. Every organization, every business in South Africa has an obligation to look after the communities that serve and work with the business. It's part of our corporate social responsibility and one of the founding values of Pick n Pay, which is doing good is good business. We believe that without the communities and without the people that feed the stores, we would not be in existence. There would be no Pick n Pay if we didn't have the customers who shopped at Pick n Pay. And that's why we've instilled that every single store nationally around South Africa adopts a charity, a school, an orphanage that they look after and that they work with as part of their corporate social responsibility. Every single store has a budget. We allocate them a monthly budget, and that budget is to focus on corporate social responsibility, be it an old age home, be it a school, be it an orphanage, be it whatever it is that they feel the community around the store needs. I firmly believe in it. And as I said, it's one of the strong values that Pick n Pay lives by, and we will continue to entrench and enforce. And then the last aspect of ESG is the focus on governance, which is ensuring that all our policies and procedures as a business tie up with the laws, the rules, and the regulations of the land. Are the policies in place to ensure that we do not encourage bribery and corruption? Do we have a whistleblowing policy? Do we have ethical procurement practices and policies in the business? Do we ensure fair trade is followed? Are we ensuring that we comply with the Consumer Protection Act and POPIA and all the necessary legislation that governs our space? And that's how we are falling into the role of ESG, as well as our SMMEs fit into our space. In the SMME realm, we are constantly looking for SMMEs to come into the Pick n Pay Boxer supply chain. As some of you may know, Boxer Superstores is a subsidiary of Pick n Pay. We bought Boxer many, many years ago. It's predominantly in the Eastern Cape. It's predominantly in KZN, but Boxer, being a wholesaler, is a big part of our business. And we are constantly working with Boxer to ensure that we bring SMMEs into the business. We equip them, we enable them, and we empower them. Our job is not to make them dependent on us as Pick n Pay. We are not saying you must be an exclusive supplier into Pick n Pay. We equip them, we enable them, and we empower them to supply retail and wholesale across the country. If we support them with funds and grant income and grant funding, our request is often that they become a preferential supplier into Pick n Pay, but it isn't a requirement that they are to be an exclusive supplier, because we believe that they must have diversity in their businesses and that they must ensure that they have the ability to withstand anything that comes their way. If Pick n Pay, for example, cannot support them or cannot take product or service, there must be other means for them to earn an income and to sustain their businesses. So we are one of those retailers that truly encourages diversity and growth beyond us and beyond ourselves. Next slide. If there's any questions, I'd please note them. I'll happily answer them at the end, and my colleague Mashinga will be doing the same. Mr. Kunene, if there are questions at any stage that you feel the honourable ministers have for me, you're welcome to stop me and I'll answer them, but I will be answering questions at the end. So part of my role in ESG is to ensure that we're partnering with businesses, suppliers, vendors into Pick n Pay to ensure that we have a strong food system and that we can promote and ensure that we don't have a problem with food security. As you know, with the floods and the droughts and the riots, South Africa really has been faced with challenges that have impacted food security. And we really are working closely with all our suppliers to make sure that that is never a problem that we encounter. We are, however, encouraging all our suppliers, vendors, SMEs to be very mindful of their role in the environment and what their businesses are doing. So, for example, factories, manufacturers, we encourage them to really have a clean operation, an ethical operation that isn't, for example, dumping chemical waste into rivers that is later going to be impacting a community or a village that relies on that water to sustain themselves, to feed themselves, to wash their clothes, etc. And part of the role is, as I've mentioned earlier, we are constantly investing in people, our own people, our staff, our stakeholders, as well as communities. It really is something that is entrenched in the values of Pick n Pay and is what we call doing good is good business. Pick n Pay's enterprise and supply development program really tries to assist a diverse group of people. And we're constantly looking for ethical businesses into our retail supply chain. What we do is we are constantly engaging with our commercial team and our buyers to see what gaps there are in the market. And what I mean by that is where there's oversupply into Pick n Pay and into the market, we find it would be counterproductive to encourage SMEs to supply us where we know that there isn't a market for them to run a sustainable business. So we're constantly looking at the gaps. Where's the need? What's the consumer wanting? What's the consumer need? And then when SMEs and small businesses apply on our platform to become a supplier into Pick n Pay, we give them honest feedback and an honest assessment to say, it's a very small market, but we will take you in X number of stores. Where there's demand, we fully encourage them. We started with this a pilot in a small number of stores, 10, 20, 30 stores, and then we upscale them. But we also have to ensure that they have the health and safety accreditation and all the legal compliance that is required before we can onboard them as a supplier of Pick n Pay, because of the legislation and the regulation that governs this area or the space that we work in. But we constantly assessing and working with small suppliers to be able to get this accreditation, to be able to meet these requirements. It isn't something that we turn away and say, come back to us when you have X, Y, and Z. We, through our foundation, the Pick n Pay Boxer Foundation, we try and assist by offering SMEs and small suppliers grant funding to be able to get that accreditation through accreditation and verification agencies. As I said, a big part of our role is to support SMEs, to empower them, to build them up, and to provide them with mentorship and business development and support. And we do this by regular training workshops in our Cape Town and in our Johannesburg offices. We do it in physical form as well as create a Zoom or a Teams platform where we have live presentations which are accessible via the electronic and online platforms. We also have online training with external companies that provide, for example, marketing and social media training, Facebook training, and all the necessary training that Mashinga will expand on in later slides, but it's all part of us being able to support them and mentor and guide them in this space. The role we have is also to scale them, to grow them within Pick n Pay, to be able to become large-scale sustainable businesses. We try and assist with developing strategies and programs for them, working with our commercial team, working with the various departments within our business to assist them to increase productivity and to be really integrated into the Pick n Pay supply chain. We start off small, but we upscale and grow as the SME is scaling, depending on their finances and what their ability is to scale. We had a SME that joined us many years ago, 15 years ago now, by the name of Anna Porza, who started off Dreamland Piggery with 4 pigs. Anna now has 350 carcasses of pork that she supplies into Pick n Pay and Boxer every week. So she's been able to scale her farm from 4 pigs initially to the over 2,000 that she has, where she can actually slaughter up to 350 pigs a week for us. And we're not the only business that Anna Porza is working with. She's working with a lot of businesses up in Gauteng, and is now also working with Boxer to supply into KZN and to the Eastern Cape. And that's part and parcel of the last point, which is to sustain a business. We've got to make sure that we're supporting them and scaling them at the right pace so that they are sustainable businesses that can function long-term and actually really grow at a rate that's manageable for them, so that they can pay their staff, meet their creditors' bills, and also grow at the right pace. So a large part of our role is to sustain them, to ensure that we're promoting them, facilitating all aspects that they need. So at functions, we invite them to come and showcase their product or their service. When we are hosting events, we have posters with stands where we invite them to come and showcase what they're doing. Our role is to make sure that we promote them, we get the word out so that they can grow and sustain themselves. That's a large part of what we do. To what I've mentioned earlier on supporting them, we have a mentorship program within Pick n Pay where the very professionals within the business, myself, our legal representative, our accountants, our CAs, our marketing team, they're all on our mentorship app where an SME can sign on and state what service they're looking for, what assistance they're looking for, what guidance they're looking for. And they can then connect with the mentor and work with that mentor on whatever problem or issue they want to resolve. We currently have approximately 150 mentors with over 220 mentees, which are all the SMEs in that space. And it's a constant learning. We have a website, we have an app, like I said, and that app is fully functional. They can go on there and they can arrange a meeting, they can arrange a Zoom link or a Teams link and speak to their mentor. We encourage the mentors to at least meet with the SMEs once a month, but also to guide them and to mentor them. We are not to give them advice and to tell them how to run their businesses. It cannot be our role to tell anyone how to run their businesses. We are merely to give them assistance and guide them along the way. I think that is really an important aspect or an important role that we play. As part of the training, we look at sales, marketing, and buying across social media platforms, how they can innovate, how they can develop their product. On financial planning and financial management, we look at accounting, we alert them to the various tax consequences, cash flow management, income statement reviews and how they read an income statement. We can also connect them to companies that offer the service at an affordable rate to do their admin and their compliance, to make sure that they are accredited for food safety, health and safety. Every single organization needs to be able to comply with this, not just for Pick n Pay, but if you're feeding, especially food product, into any organization. And then we also offer them the ability to understand payroll, how they can organize their businesses and their structures, also factoring in diversity and transformation. And we encourage every single business to grow and to transform, to transfer skill, to grow, to learn, to train their staff, to upskill, because it's a big part of what we do as a business and a big part of what we as Pick n Pay live by. As you may have seen from our online investor relations page, you can go on to picknpayinvestorrelations.co.za and get a screenshot or upload our financial results, as well as our integrated report, as well as our ESG, environmental social governance report. And you'll see that we've spent approximately 4.3 billion in FY22 on the 2,178 SMMEs, which is an increase from the previous year where we had 2,123. And what we are doing constantly is ensuring that businesses that supply to Pick n Pay are supporting ethical and sustainable practices to source their product, to source their ingredients. We're checking to make sure that they are meeting environmental and social impacts. And you'll see that 90% of our clothing suppliers are SEDC approved. We are trying to ensure that 100% of all the pork that we have in Pick n Pay is sow crate friendly. And that's been the case since 2019. So we really are trying to push and educate all our SMEs and businesses that supply to Pick n Pay to do the right thing, the ethical thing, and the sustainable thing. And one of the big things is for us to procure locally, and it's what we call Pick n Pay Pick Local. We really are encouraging our suppliers and especially our consumers. We actually have a Pick Local tag on all the products in store that are actually sourced and procured locally. So the customer is aware that we are supporting proudly South African businesses and especially small businesses. I'm going to hand over to my colleague Mashinga now, who's going to talk to you about a project that Pick n Pay collaborated with the Jobs Fund and the SAB Foundation on, where we had a joint fund of 20 million rand, 10 million from Jobs Fund, 5 million rand from Pick n Pay, and 5 million rand from the SAB Foundation, which supported 5 emerging farmers in South Africa, namely Treasure Trove, Urban Grown, Green Terrace, Moloboto, and Sitembalema. So over to you, Mashinga.
Thank you very much, Bon. Now, it's so important to translate strategy into practice. And it's a great honor to present to you today how we can work together with big business to really create jobs and provide an income for our colleagues. What I wanted to just mention and just to touch on what Vaughan said is we've actually partnered with the National Treasury, and we did this because we saw that we really wanted to accelerate our commitments, particularly through the National Development Plan, but also through a strategic intent through our initiatives, as Vaughan said, through the Boxer Foundation. Now, this is just a handful of many businesses. You mentioned, Vaughan, the figure 2,178. We've just, for purposes of time, want to share some of the things we did with that money. Now, it's important here, honorable members, to say that we bought seedlings, we procured cattle, we built a pack house. We really wanted to go through the grassroots and really assist where the need was. And one of the things I'm sure you're asking is, how did we do that? We didn't dispense the funds directly to the clients. We actually paid service providers who then went on board and provided the clients with the needs. This is a project that's actually in the closeout phase. So we're actually at the end of the closeout phase. We have a trustee meeting where we report back to the trustees of the Pick and Pay Boxer Foundation. And we've also included our colleagues at the SAB Foundation. So this is a great initiative, and we're really looking for support, government support, to say, how do we accelerate that 20 million, perhaps to 50 million or 100 million? What I just wanted to spotlight this morning, honorable members, is this husband and wife couples. There's something about people who work together. There's been a lot of media around Noni and her husband, Simba. Simba actually went on training to actually learn about vertical farming, and Noni is a qualified accountant. The reason I'm highlighting that and mentioning that here is because we know that once an entrepreneur is skilled or has some kind of passion, it really helps to sustain the jobs. In 2019, they started supplying us with one product, SKU, stock keeping unit. You will see that over the years, this has grown. They now supply not just Pick and Pay, but Boxer. And remember, Vaughan talked about we don't have an exclusive agreement with them. In fact, we are aware that they are supplying our opposition, and we encourage that. Next, I really want to highlight this Western Cape star world-class supplier. Bilkis and her team are actually across the way, honorable members, in Muizenberg, Cape Town. We still remember when Suzanne Ackerman, the executive, before Vaughan Pierce visited their factory in Wynberg, where they didn't even have a chair or a glass of water to name a few things. But now, honorable members, it's a factory that has 91 people that are now employed across the board. Another example of a quality, trusted product. It hasn't just been about putting their products onto the shelf. It's about working with this supplier together with their teams on the ground. And they now not only supply their products to our opposition. So what I did, I wanted to show you, you may have seen this product in other stores, but now supplying the Pick and Pay own brand. And that is a real achievement on Bilkis and Zukti. And again, a husband and wife couple. Another fantastic example, honorable members, is Sikle. Now, people ask me all the time, how long does it take to be a supplier to Pick and Pay? And then I say, how long does it take to run a marathon? It's not a marathon, honorable members, it's a sprint. This term sustainability is about working with Sikle, understanding where he's sourcing his beans, making sure that he has the professional affiliations, and we'll be talking to the assistance we need from government around professional affiliations, because as you all know, it's expensive. You can see what I've done for you, ladies and gentlemen, is to show you Sikle's own product, which we refer to in retail as a national brand, but the fantastic opportunity for him to now supply under the Pick and Pay brand. So when you go into your next Pick and Pay store, please support this brand. There is a story at the back or in the front of it that will actually mention Sikle. So again, Vaughan was we're trying to educate the customer in terms of who we're supporting. And we're not doing it to gain brownie points. We're doing it because it's the right thing to do, because doing good is good business. Next is our peanut butter supplier. Again, Debbie has a factory out here also in the north, but is now also supplying under the Pick and Pay no-name brand. And we know that her turnover has tripled as a result of that. So again, how do we support her? We've supported her to change her labeling, change her packaging. We know that after the floods in KwaZulu-Natal, it was very difficult for some of our suppliers to get product in. And we know that that's what we need to do, to work with government to really reduce the red tape and make sure that Debbie and businesses like her can get access to that. Another wonderful story, this is a medical doctor by profession. Tracy launched her business purely by chance. Her youngest son at the time had massive allergies, and she decided at that time to use her heritage and to use the marula fruit. And today she's created a frozen ice cream. But I must tell you, honorable members, that's just the beginning of her journey. She's actually now working with our team to create other healthy products under the Live Well brand. And again, I just want to highlight the Pick Local stamp that Vaughan was referring to. You are going to be seeing a lot of this, and this is our way of showing our wonderful customers how we are supporting local and how we are, really making an impact where we can. Another gentleman here, this is Durban-based in Jabululo. In fact, the reason I decided to highlight him is because of you see here, I think back to 6 years ago, where in Jabululo won the Boost Your Biz competition. And his product couldn't get in because he didn't have the correct facility in terms of food accreditation. Instead of saying goodbye, we stood by him year by year, working with him to try and get him that accreditation, working with our partners at the SABS. But these things cost money, honorable members. So where are these suppliers supposed to get them? And I just want to highlight at this point, we are trying our best to help as many people as possible, but we need to provide healthy products to our customers. So we have to follow the correct food safety legislation. You will be seeing this husband and wife couple. They are actually supplying our 2-ply 9 no-name toilet paper. We're actually working at the moment with the IDC to get them the funding that they need to actually open a factory so that they can increase their supply from being a regional supplier in Gauteng to a national supplier. Remember, Vaughan was talking about we don't want to give them initially 300 stores. We trial with 10, then we increase it with 20. And that's really my job, visiting them in their factories, understanding what the need is, in there every month with them, and then going back to the executives and saying, Vaughan, this is what we need to do better. So constantly learning. Treasure Trove, Sonto is one of our star suppliers. She is a 3rd-generation farmer. In fact, what's interesting, she's one of the beneficiaries that benefited from the 20 million rand project, and also supplying our opposition. And in fact, we are proud to say that, because at the end of the day, we want our suppliers to be able to supply the big 5, but also into wholesale, which we know is a massively growing market. I'd like now to hand over back to Vaughan for the final conclusion and slide.
Thank you, Mashinga. So, honorable ministers and honorable chair, I think, as you can see, we are really trying. We're really trying to promote SMMEs, encourage SMMEs, small businesses into our supply chain. We would, however, really need your assistance to work with us on reducing the business red tape, the license approvals, the things that make it really hard for SMMEs to be able to operate and to function. There's officers that come and do inspections that really are harsh and often are inconsistent in the application of what they look for and how they address things. And we are committed to, the moment we get issues where an inspector's gone in and assessed, we then fully go in as Pick n Pay to assess and see how we can assist. If it's an issue of health and safety, we throw in our team and we go and assist. But there's lots of red tape that we would actually be able to share with you that really is inhibiting small businesses from functioning. It's a huge cost for them. Bigger businesses can afford it, but also find it a problem, but they can get over that hurdle. It's the smaller SMMEs and the small businesses that are really impacted by ongoing red tape and legislation that doesn't make sense to them, or that they can't get assistance to be able to comply and to meet legislative muster. As I said, the Pick n Pay Boxer Foundation does fund food as well as health and safety, but if we could appeal to government and appeal to you all as honorable ministers in your respective portfolios to please allocate 100, 200,000, if not more, to ring fence it as grant funding to be able to assist SMEs and small businesses to be able to get accreditation. That costs in the region of 8,000 to 10,000 Rand per business. It's got to be done in most cases annually. It's an annual cost. And a lot of businesses, with all the ongoing capital expenditure, salaries, and electricity costs, generator fees, diesel costs, they really are taking strain. A big thing for us is also scaling, but more important than scaling a business is startup funding for innovation. We would really, really appreciate government funding to be able to launch what we would call a boost your business initiative, where we could encourage via application SMEs across the country to apply and to give us their idea and to give us their business idea. And then what we would do is have a panel where we would assess each business, the marketability and the viability of the business, choose 10 or 20 SMEs and small suppliers, and then integrate them into the Pick n Pay supply chain and the Boxer supply chain, which then becomes a bigger retail supply chain, because like we've said numerous times now, is we don't force an SME or a supplier to just solely supply into Pick n Pay and Boxer. We have initiated a Boost Your Biz in 2019. That cost in the region of 2 million Rand because of all the training, the upskilling, the coordination, because what we then do is the winners then go through a rigorous training program. But what happens at the end of the day is that they then become suppliers into Pick n Pay and Boxer, and they can run a business which will then support themselves, their staff, and their immediate families. But if we could also just get support and assistance with our supply chain and logistics management, again, this comes at a cost. So if there's any government and support that we can get from government to address the red tape and the funding issues that we are experiencing, it would be most appreciated. Thank you all for your time. And Mr. Kunene, if there's any questions from the Honourable Ministers as well as Honourable Chair, please, you're welcome to ask us. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Manager Bosia Sisi, for the presentation. I'm touched that you are really sharing the very same sentiments with the committee, the issue of the red tapes, the issue of funding, which is a thorny issue. We are really happy to have you today. There are a number of clarity-seeking questions which we would like to ask from your good selves, but those challenges you are indicating, indeed, as government or as parliament, we are legislators. We need to regulate certain regulations which will really assist those small businesses, because people who are experiencing this negative impact are indeed the small businesses. So I really appreciate the presentation and also the work which we have seen on the slide, the fresh vegetables, the cattle. So, but indeed, government must do something to have startups, because our people, majority of them are living in rural areas. So means of growing is really a problem on those issues of red tape. Your problem is also our problem as the portfolio committee. So I'm happy was sharing the very same sentiments. I will now invite honorable members to engage with your presentation. Braking, you'll assist me by identifying hands from honorable members. Thank you, Peace. Thank you so much. And Mshinga.
Chairperson, for now, I've got Honorable Hendricks.
Yes.
That's him for now.
Wow.
Honorable Babala Atulelo, Honorable
Mm.
Lubengo, Honorable
Yes.
De Villiers,
Okay. Okay.
so I think we can take these 4 hands as a first round.
Okay, Honorable
I think
Hendricks,
Mr.
over to you.
Kruger is still coming.
Is his
Thank you
hand
very
up?
much. Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Honorable Chair, thank you very much for a very insightful presentation. It is very encouraging to note that the big corporates are assisting small businesses. I don't see any indication that Pick n Pay is supporting micro businesses and roadside businesses, but it's a good start. I was one of the first customers of Pick n Pay when they were in District 6. I lived close by, and when I went to school, I used to pass Pick n Pay. In those early days, some of you were not even born yet. I was also involved in helping set up the first online shopping website for Pick n Pay when I was a director of MWeb. So we know of the efforts of Pick n Pay to plow back into the community, and they've made a start. High level response to what we've heard today is they need to do 10 times more, because at the pace that the one of the biggest retailers are working, we are not going to make a dent into getting families out of poverty. And Honorable Chair, you mentioned that we mustn't forget about the rural areas, and it's a pity that Pick n Pay may not be in many of the rural villages that you refer to. So those people will remain in poverty. It's very important that the initiatives of Pick n Pay must help reduce poverty in our country. I was very interested to hear about the peanut butter project. I have raised it in this committee before. Gradville is near Stanger in KZN, and there is a cooperative. The community of Gradville live on peanuts. They now want to move to manufacturing peanut butter. The Albert Lutuli Hall in Stanger has now been allocated to them about 200, 300 square meters. They want to manufacture peanut butter. So I hope that we can approach Pick n Pay for some assistance. We've invited the United Nations Food Program. They came to observe what is happening. The NDA has been there, but we need big business to come forward to assist. And it looks like Pick n Pay already has some experience. Chief Albert Lutuli was a Nobel Peace Prize winner. The ANC's headquarters is named after him. He's a great leader, and we need to leave, such legacies behind. So it's be an important project for Pick n Pay to consider. But I want to conclude by talking about the localization project of the president. 1,000 products has been identified that can only be marketed and manufactured by rural villages and townships. And I understand that Pick n Pay may have listed free of charge some of these products and is already on their shelves. I would like to hear which of the localization products, and there's 1,000 products that has been listed, whether they know about it. And number 2 is those products that the president has decreed must only be manufactured, marketed by townships, businesses. So does Pick n Pay have any of those products on their shelves? Because that means they are non-compliant. that they are selling products of that has now been outlawed. It can't be sold in supermarkets anymore. So we will need their cooperation to remove those products and to create a demand for the product that the president wants to be marketed, sold, the whole works in the rural areas and townships. So that is the focus. And I just hope that the Department of Small Business Development, who seems to have arranged this, that they have given Pick n Pay heads up on the localization project, because they have the ear of Pick n Pay. And I hope they're doing their work. It looks like they're not doing their work, Honorable Chair, because otherwise Pick n Pay would have mentioned and said, look, of the 1,000 localization products, we have 10 on ourselves, and we are removing the big brand names from ourselves, so people must buy from the townships. So I'm sure other members will build on this, but we like to thank Pick n Pay for the presentation. And like I said, that while it's a good start, I'm not impressed with what they are doing. They need to do 10 times more. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, which is Honorable Matulela.
Thank you, Chairperson. Greetings to honorable members and our Pick n Pay presenters. Mine is very short and briefly. I just wanted to know, because our constituencies are in rural areas, which covers the townships, are in townships that covers the rural areas. We just want to know, because to come and give a presentation on a good project that you are doing, but we only hear it while you are here, as we've got that privilege as members of this portfolio committee, but at the ground we don't know about this project and their initiative towards what they are presenting about. We just want to know if is there any or how many SMMEs have they helped, in particular in Umtata or Matatiele in the Eastern Cape, also in Vembe, Limpopo, because that Limpopo in Vembe it's a very neglected and a place where small businesses I can say maybe they don't find any help from those projects that are done by the shops like Abo Pick n Pay. I've heard that this their presentation, it does not cover the issue of franchise, but we need them to come next time. They must come with a full report because those people of who do franchise, they also form part of SMMEs as well, because some they start their businesses in that part, in that space of small business, because they started at their formative stage. They do franchise. So I didn't hear anything about franchising, since we had a problem. If you remember, Chairperson, that we had a problem with people who were bullied by the Pick n Pay, black people in particular who were doing franchise in the brand of Pick n Pay. So we need also a clear indication that in this area, more especially where our constituencies are in townships, we do want and we do need these kind of projects in those constituencies. Also, there is a place called Isipingo in KwaZulu-Natal. Small businesses there, they struggle seriously. So we need this Pick n Pay to tell us where are they doing, how are they showing up, or their advert, or what marketing for the directly for the small businesses that they particular help. So we need those clarity. Also, I just want to correct them in this thing of coming in this portfolio committee and think that only the minister and the chairperson of the portfolio is the one that is going to ask questions. We are here as portfolio committee members. We don't want any kind of being undermined. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Matulela. Honorable members, I think to assist the committee, let's also zoom to those projects, initiatives they have reflected in their presentation to check the number of beneficiaries, etc., because our argument should be based on what they have presented. However, you are at liberty to can further ask anything, but to assist the committee here, because as I have indicated in my opening remarks, that I'm happy they are sharing the very same sentiments on the issue of red tapes, funding issues. So maybe if we can also indicate that so that they clarify that, because there is a lot which we can benefit from them. That was just an advice. Let me now call Honorable Lebengo. Honorable Lebengo.
King, I switched devices. Can you hear me, or am I just now not audible at all?
You are audible.
Am I audible, Chairperson?
You are audible. Can you speak?
Okay, let me start. I'm saying the ESD provides mentorship, guidance, and business development support to entrepreneurs. Could Pick n Pay give examples of how its mentorship program works, and what are the time frame of the mentorship program? What kind of ongoing support does Pick n Pay provide? For instance, if a supplier's crop is affected by the weather that year, or do you move on the next available supplier? Lastly, Chairperson, I just wanted to know as to how many projects did Pick n Pay assist in Limpopo, particularly in Bembe. I thank you, Chairperson.
Thank Honorable Lebengo. Honorable De Villiers.
Good morning, Chairperson, and good morning, colleagues. Firstly, I would like to thank Pick n Pay for the wonderful presentation. Despite some of the comments by some of my colleagues, which I found it really disappointing, but not at all surprising if you look where, but anyways, I think that it's very commendable that what Pick n Pay is doing, and I think that even if they have managed to empower one small business owner, and they've clearly managed to empower lots of small business owners. It's probably more than this committee or the current government has done. I find it very distasteful when someone like Pick n Pay comes here and does a wonderful presentation, and all some of my colleagues can do is be negative and make really unconstructive comments. Nonetheless, I think what is true and what is something which is within the business of this committee is red tape reduction, and to create a environment where we strive to, as government, make it easier for small businesses, micro businesses, informal businesses to grow and to become more sustainable, put food on the table for their families, and so forth. And one of the things which I find in all spheres of government and in private sector is we talk about red tape, but rarely do we name it. And what I mean by that is Pick n Pay said, and one of their recommendations was, we should work towards bringing down red tape for small businesses. But we actually would need examples. So what I'm trying to say is that I think from Pick n Pay's side, if they would like to assist the committee when we work with legislative items, when we work at small business with small business development issues, is to actually receive lists, practical examples of what are the government processes that are frustrating the typical small businesses that they come in contact with. Because if we have real world examples of what are the 10 or 20 most major red tape moments for a small retailer, a small supplier, someone someone which they typically work with, then we can obviously make work of trying to identify what should we as legislators do to create an environment where that red tape disappears or eases, or just makes it easier for these entrepreneurs to do business. So I commend the programs that they are running. It's very easy to chirp from the sideline and say they should do more, but you can see the people that are making these comments are typically just commentators, not people who will actually do anything. But I will end by just saying I think we need real world examples of red tape from Pick n Pay, because they are on the ground working with these micro and small business entrepreneurs, so that we can make work of creating a better legislative environment for them. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Honourable Chair, I must raise a point of order with your permission.
What is the point of order?
The point of order is that the honourable member is misleading us and the nation. It is not correct for him.
Your connectivity is a problem,
Say
Honorable.
that Pick n Pay does more.
I'm saying your connectivity is very difficult. We are cut. I can't hear you properly.
I can take that point of order from him, Chairperson, if we can't hear him.
Okay.
I think what Honorable Hanif wanted to say, but what I will also say in my capacity, it is unparliamentary, it is misleading to bring the public under the impression that Pick n Pay is doing more than our government is doing, and that is exactly what the Honorable de Villiers says, which is it's unfounded. It is something that he cannot prove and something that he must withdraw with immediate effect.
Honorable members, that's why I was trying to direct the meeting that we have got the presentation before us. Can we please, to assist the committee, because we need to come up with some recommendations to Pick n Pay. Can we please focus on what they have presented vis-a-vis experiences which is being experienced by our people on the ground? So, honorable members, each and everyone has got the right to speak, but to assist us as the portfolio committee, because at the end of the day, we need to come up with some recommendations. Can we please stick to what they have presented so that we assist ourselves and also assist Pick n Pay? That's my submission. If we can do it in that fashion, it will assist, because I don't see also the relevance of talking about government while we are deliberating on a presentation made by this entity. So that's my humble request, to allow me to chair and allow me also to guide honorable members. Thank you. The next speaker, it was Honorable De Villiers, and who's next? King, you will advise me, because I'm not in the position to can see hands here. It's
Okay.
Honorable April and
Honorable
April
April and
and
Honorable Jacobs.
Okay, Honorable April, the stage is yours, please.
Good morning, Chairperson. Good morning, fellow colleagues, staff. Good morning, Pick and Pay. Let me take this moment to also first thank you for the presentation that you have done this morning. It comes appreciated by us. There's a lot of information in it. What I would like to ask from yourselves is, when we look at Appendix A below in step 4, in joining Pick and Pay's ESG requires technical information such as cash flow projections and financials, which require the assistance of registered accountants and bookkeepers, according to the Bank Association of South Africa. Over 50% of South African SMMEs do not keep financial records, and that's a fact. And in light of those figures, this step alone could be a barrier for many SMMEs, particularly the previously disadvantaged SMMEs. How realistic are the EDS entry-level requirements for the average SMME in the country? How realistic is that genuinely? I shall also not stop there, but say that I'm from a community where Pick and Pay has got their market stores, and the value chain of the market stores that Pick and Pay has got is one that should really be, what is the contrary word to applaud? You cannot, if you don't applaud it, should, yeah, it is bad. Because the market stores, I'm one person who continually buy from my local community, and you would find that the quality of the products that Pick and Pay would sell in their market stores is far worse than the quality of the product that they would sell in their stores in the more affluent areas, which then made us make a suggestion that in Pick and Pay uses the lower end quality products to take it to our people, but for the same price. And that is one of the things that has been really, it has been bad that Pick and Pay would do that. It's making our locations a drop off for goods that are soon to be expired, substandard quality goods, expecting the same kind of price to be paid. Those are things that Pick and Pay should know, that we know and we take cognizance of. But I have asked my questions, and I'd also like to say that it is a different story if you are owner of a Pick and Pay. You would obviously come here and speak for Pick and Pay, but there's a different song that you need to sing if you are really wanting to lead the people. You can't sing for your shop that you own as a Pick and Pay owner. Thank you. Chairperson,
Thank you, Honorable April. Honorable Jacobs, the stage is yours. Thank you, Honorable Len.
Thank you very much, Chairperson, and greetings to our colleagues and everybody. You can pay Mr. Pierce and Ms. Kumbo. Thanks again for a good presentation. Look, I think you need to understand where the portfolio is coming from. That whilst we acknowledge the work that you've done thus far, I think what we need to do is we need to be frank with each other and engage on a whole range of things. Last year, Pick and Pay made, let me go to my notes. I think Pick and Pay made a profit of about 900 billion rand. So Pick and Pay is not a small company. Pick and Pay has 16% of the market share. Pick and Pay is one of the top 5 retail companies in our country. Yeah, and generated turnover of 98 billion last year. You run 3 brands, the Pick n Pay Boxer and the TM Supermarket, which is in Zimbabwe. You have your turnover is quite big. So I've got, and you one of the older brands, South African brands, a very proud South African brand. I happen to be a casual worker, working for 10 years as a casual trolley boy at KC Kenilworth. So I have fond memories of working in Pick n Pay, and also that Pick n Pay money helped my family and also took me through university. So I know how to start from the bottom up, and now I'm a member of parliament. But I think Pick n Pay can do more, and so I think this is the engagement that we have. We need to acknowledge where we are, but given the challenges, you saw what happened in July. There is a growing resentment that Boxer and all of these markets and all of these companies make massive profits and they don't really plow back. And that small budget that you give to your store manager there is inconsequential. It can only organize maybe a tea party for the elders there, but it doesn't have meaningful, it doesn't add value. So I think what we are asking for as this government is to have a genuine, meaningful public partnership with the private sector. You saying that we must do help with red tape, but I think what we're also saying is you can do more to build Black, historically disadvantaged communities, youth, and women businesses. If I can go to your stats on your SMME spend, it's really not looking good. SMME spend, so on all the SMMEs for last financial year 2020, you spend, I think it's 50 billion rand. Of that, only 4.3% is spent on broad-based Black economic empowerment. So can you see that not even 10% of your SMME budget is going for Black people, but yet all of your consumers, your majority of your consumers is those historically Black people. So can you see the skewedness? And yes, we must commend you for 1 or 2 good examples, but it's fundamentally a big problem. What happens if those Black people that is your consumers wake up with this stat and say, hey, but we're spending 50 billion rand and SMMEs, and you're only less than 10% of the SMMEs. So basically you're promoting WEE, white economic empowerment, Pick n Pay, because of all the SMMEs that you're supporting, 50 billion rand of them, you're only supporting 4.3 Black small businesses. So that stats must sink in for us. That stat must sink in for us. So we can tap dance around all the other challenges, but that is a big indictment for you. We sent ShopRite packing the other time. And so I don't think we should treat Pick n Pay with key gloves. We don't want marketing. We don't want spiel. We don't want razzmatazz. We want you to really do more for our community. And so our role is, as legislature, is to encourage you to, but also to prod you to say, the current trajectory is not on. The current trajectory of you only spending 4.3 billion on broad-based Black economic empowerment is not on. So I think that that for me is the big question. I'm going to raise a few questions that our researchers have prepared for us. Look, I think the other big challenge also is there is the notion that Pick n Pay is a bully with regard to small Black franchises. I know of 2 examples, at least here in Langa, where my colleague and Shadow Minister for Economic Affairs in the Western Cape, Comrade Norman Kondlo, was raising it quite sharply that Pick n Pay, the franchise model, make it very excessive, very difficult, and a lot of these Black franchises now left with big debt, and Pick n Pay standing out of the water. I think in the market inquiry, the Competition Commission also reports that what we're seeing is that we need a greater sense of township revitalization that is needed, and Pick n Pay has to play that role. I think we spoke about the KwaZulu unrest, and also here in Gauteng and Western Cape, there was a Pick n Pay was accused of by black owners of bullying in some of the stores. So, Chair, I think the thing is the ESD program. You only have 187 suppliers with a further 100 prospective suppliers. This is really very little. How can you massify? How can you upscale this? Is it deliberately so cumbersome and compliant so that you keep black businesses out? Or are you going to be developmental and also sustainable as you claim to be to help us black business access this this thing? Could Pick n Pay also take this committee into confidence on the market stores in the townships? In Pick n Pay, the actual transpired between the retail and market stores in the township, and also give us an overview of the market stores in the Western Cape, its location and its challenges. In 2021 integrated report, the retailer says that 40% of the local manufacturers we have achieved. What is the degree of localization that is needed, and what are you going to do very concretely? Maybe share a program around actively sourcing localization for our community. I want to then look at your brand, your Pick n Pay clothing brand. In the 2021 Sustainable Livings Report states that the Pick n Pay clothing brand is investing in local manufacture, which is good, and we want to commend you. Nearly 40% of all your clothes is made in South Africa, up from 10% at the start of the pandemic. So that is commendable. What will be the latest figure in the financial year? And what would Pick n Pay be doing differently to get to buy local manufacturers? Look, here in the Western Cape, we have a big clothing industry, and we want to protect that. Where is Pick n Pay getting 60% of its clothing? Is only 40% is locally. I think the ESD program my colleague spoke about. According to the Banking Association of South Africa, which we had presentation last time, not lots of SMMEs keep financial records, and I think that is a big challenge. How you're going to help with your own program. And then just lastly, I also want to weigh in on Honorable de Villiers' inputs. Honorable de Villiers, and through you, Chair, I think what we're doing here when we call a retail company, we know that there's lots of market concentration. We know it's in the retail, there's price collusion, there's competition collusion in the financial sector, in the bread, in the construction, and all of these big companies are colluding with price, and they're keeping out small businesses. So the big bullies are getting bigger, they're eating more profits, and they're not sharing the table. We're getting the crumbs on the table. So, Honorable de Villiers, we have a constitutional oversight responsibility. Ours is not to speak in favor. I know maybe some would get more sponsorship from big capital, but our role is to look after our people, to look after how South Africans, whether corporate citizens and those that can't look after themselves, how we care for them. So Pick n Pay is a big corporate citizen of South Africa. It makes its profits from South Africa, it derives its benefit, it employs everybody, and it needs to be responsible. We commend him for its stature and its role in South Africa. But we also need to put up the mirror to Pick n Pay. And we need to ask Pick n Pay, are you doing enough? Are you doing more? What can be done more? So yes, we will take responsibility for ensuring that we try to get a public-private partnership, but the partnership must be meaningful. Chair, we can't just ensure that the private sector take the profits and government takes the risk. We need you. If you're saying to us, you got 20 million rand from the jobs fund and Pick n Pay only put in 5 million rand, that doesn't sound fair. Why can't Pick n Pay put in more for broad-based Black economic empowerment, for our small businesses, for them also to, we're not asking for a favor or a hand up. We're basically asking for us, let us help each other. Because when small businesses grow, that is when that mama, that gogo, that uncle can also afford school fees. We're saying that we need to create an enabling environment, but big corporates like Pick n Pay, like the banks, like the telecoms, like the Cell Cs, they must come to the party chair. So those are some of the questions, and I'm appealing to my colleagues. Let me play politics here, because we can. The corporate tax is there, but we need to ensure that our corporate governance are more accountable and also plow back to our economy. We need shared and inclusive growth so that all of us can have economic participation in this country. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Braking. Do we still have hands? Or this was the last hand?
Chair, it was the last hand.
Thank you. I will now invite Pick n Pay to respond on those discussions so that I can release them, and then we'll proceed with our business. And I'm happy that in your introduction, Pick n Pay, you indicated it clearly that as retailers, you are there where people are living. You are not in the park where animals are living. So your responsibility is to make sure that that relationship with the society is there. And that's what we are here for today. The unfortunate part of it, not all animals are equal. There are people who are living in the rural, there are people who are living in the urban areas, and we can't treat them the same. So the issue of private sector, the issue of private partnership is critical. So I would like you just to respond to those questions which is related to your presentation so that we can close this matter. But bear in mind that number of issues were based mostly on rural areas, the issue of localization, the issue of manufacturing, the issue of 100 products pronounced by the president, which will identify what is it that we are doing. I would like to hear you touching on all those things. But thank you, honorable members, for your engagement. I'm now inviting Pick n Pay. You will decide who will be the first to respond, the two of you, whether Ceci or yourself, Peace. It's up to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Thank you, Honorable Ministers and other members of the audience. Appreciate your feedback and your insights, I think all of which is very valuable. I think it is very important in this forum that we open and transparent with one another. And also, to your point there, Mr. Jacobs, that we do look in the mirror and have a clear and honest view of the situation, the facts and figures, and how we can make a difference. I think we have to be honest to ourselves, to yourselves, and to South Africa at large, and really look at the environment and the state of the country and go and be fully assessed on what can we do and what can we do better to improve the lives of the average South African and our fellow colleagues. I think it would be wrong of us to negate that. And I think it's important that you raise it so that we can truly assess that in the spirit of doing good is good business, because we are a company that is trying to do the most we can, the best we can. Can we do more? Absolutely. And that's one of the things that I've been tasked with since I've taken on this role in April of this year, is to really look honestly as to how we can grow, how we can include more SMEs, and how we can expand and give back to our fellow South Africans, because every South African has a duty and an obligation to do better, but more importantly, to assist themselves, their communities, and their dependents. I believe every South African is at least looking after 5 dependents, so that it's a ripple effect. It's just growing and growing and growing. I'd like to take and go through the questions that have been posed to us in the order of sequence, and I hope I don't miss anyone or miss any question, but if that's the case, my colleague Mashinga will feed into it. I think as an overarching response, I'd like to say that all rural areas in South Africa, all the rural communities, we have as a business tried to address and try to feed that part of South Africa with our Boxer stores and with our Boxer wholesale stores. And I would like to encourage the committee to invite Boxer and my colleague who looks after the space in Boxer, Ntombi Gludla, and I'll share the details with you, Mr. Kunene. Invite Boxer to this forum because Boxer is doing a lot of work on behalf of the Pick n Pay group. I unfortunately can't speak to it because it's not my area. And I don't want to negate the work that they are doing in the rural areas of South Africa, Eastern Cape, Limpopo, KZN, and alike. Because they are doing a lot there. And with the expansion, we have 400 Boxer stores, all of which are also doing SMME work, also doing work in communities, community gardens, and growing infrastructure to be able to assist communities in the areas in which they live. So that's the one point. They also, because of the rural areas in which we find Boxer stores, they are assisting micro businesses. They are assisting small scale farmers and roadside businesses that are able to supply into the Boxer supply chain with fresh vegetables and produce that doesn't have to meet the scrutiny of legislation. And what I mean by that is it's stuff that can be bought and sold on the same day. A lot of the produce that they pay for also isn't within the banking sector because a lot of the small businesses and the people in the rural areas are unbanked, the unbanked population. So Boxer actually pays them cash. It's cash on hand directly, but that produce is sold on the same day because it can't be refrigerated, it can't be kept overnight because of health and safety standards. So that's a big win that I think Boxer would actually be able to really feed back to all of you sitting here today and to give actual justice to all the work that Boxer is doing for micro businesses, micro farmers, small communities, and the people in the rural areas. I think it's very important. It's not a neglected part of the population. Pick n Pay is the holding company. Boxer is a subsidiary of ours, but Boxer caters for all of that. And I really, really do think that Ntombi and her Boxer team must come and present to you on all the work that Boxer is doing to assist in the rural areas. So that's the one part. They would also be able to talk to the businesses in Isipingo and in KZN because I know that they are busy working there. On the aspect, the big overarching aspect of franchise and market stores, what I can say is that I would also encourage you through, and I'll share the details with you, Mr. Kunene, to get our franchise executive to come and talk to the franchise model. What I can speak of and highlight now already is that the franchise model is being reworked. We are currently in discussions with all our franchisees across the board. We have almost 900 franchise stores. In that 900, we've got BP Express stores, we've got 36 market stores, and it's a large part of our business. Almost half of the Pick n Pay landscape is franchise. We value them. We do value the support that they play and the role that they play in the bigger group of Pick n Pay. The initial franchise agreements were established in the late 80s, and various amendments and addendums were done to the agreements over the years, but the entire model has changed. As you may be aware, with our CEO, we have reformatted Pick n Pay into two segments, being Pick n Pay and what's now called a new brand called Pick n Pay QualiSave. So we're going to be able to be like a Checkers and a ShopRite. There are two brands within Pick n Pay. And one of the other things that we've noted is that whilst we've rebranded Pick n Pay as QualiSave and Pick n Pay, there is significant work that needs to be done in the franchise modeling. And that is a lengthy and intense negotiation with we have a franchise forum where there are representatives from our franchisees that sit on a committee that works with Pick n Pay to remodel the franchise agreement. And that's where we hope to remodel the structure, address things that aren't working, improve on things that aren't working, expand on things that are working. But what I can say to you, all of you in this room today, is that we are engaging with our franchisees. We are working with our franchisees. We want to make things better, and we want to improve in the current model because they are a huge part of our business, and we rely wholly on what they do, and we appreciate their contribution to the business. On the issue of market stores, the issue of market stores is currently in a negotiation phase with the market store owners and the EFF that have brought it to our attention. We are addressing things because a lot of it isn't 100% factually correct. And we've had to deal with the media, we've had to deal with the legal disputes that are currently underway, all of which are actually sub judice. I'm not at liberty to discuss it, even in a confidential forum like today, because it is being addressed. But what I can say to you is that we are engaging with market stores. We are working with them. We are addressing the facts. Every market store has a different factual scenario. And market stores are not, all these stores in the township areas are not Pick n Pay stores. They are sponsored or assisted by Pick n Pay. It was a philanthropic assistance that we gave market stores. So if it was a Sipho Spaza store previously, it became Sipho Spaza store powered by or assisted by Pick n Pay. So to a question or a statement that was made by one of the honorable ministers and members of the audience there to say that the quality is different or differentiated within a Pick n Pay versus a market store in a township community, it would be, because a market store is not a Pick n Pay, and it was never the intention for them to be a Pick n Pay. They would still be the local store in that community where the market store owner could choose which products he wanted to procure from us at the level and at the quality that he felt his community required. But I think my colleague Nelia, who is the executive in the franchise space, would be best placed to talk to you about market stores and the dynamics that we are dealing with the 36 market store owners. Unfortunately, the debt that they speak of is not just Pick n Pay debt. With COVID, a lot of them incurred a lot of other debt, some of which were paying themselves salaries to the tune of 100 to 250,000 Rand a month, whilst in COVID and not running efficient businesses. So the story with the market stores is a lot more complex than what we've read in the media. I think it's important that we give justice to that topic and really encourage the franchise executive to come and speak to you specifically on the issue of franchise, the franchise remodeling, as well as the market stores, because it is an important aspect to be discussed in detail. And I believe you all as portfolio members need that detail. But I just want you to alert you to the facts that we read in the media were not 100% correct. And we are committed to assisting the market store owners. The market store owners received contributions from Gauteng government, from the Western Cape government, from Pick n Pay. It was an assistance that we provided. They are not Pick n Pay stores. I need to clear that up. We are merely assisting them. They are stores that operate within the communities that they serve. They remain market stores in the communities, in the townships, and in the environments in which they serve. The owners at the time did not want to come under the Pick n Pay branding because they didn't want to be controlled by Pick n Pay. So I just need to make that clear. Mashinga will be talking to the 1,000 products that have been marketed and endorsed by the president, and we'll be going into detail there, as well as highlighting aspects of the mentorship program. What I want to say is, with the mentorship program, is with the compliance that SMMEs and businesses as a whole have to comply with, it's not regulation or legislation that we are implementing and are being intentionally obstructive with, in the sense of trying to exclude SMMEs and small businesses into the Pick n Pay supply chain. Where we can, we find that Boxer is the easiest way to onboard rural communities, small businesses, small SMMEs that really can't comply, because what we can do is take produce from them and sell it same day, and really not have to have all the health and safety and long life dates and barcodes and labeling and all of that, which is what legislation requires. So the view that there's intentional or obstruction from Pick n Pay or retailers is not the case. We really are committed to working with SMMEs and small suppliers to onboard them. The legislation that governs us all is what is a challenge for big suppliers, small suppliers, as well as SMMEs, but we are trying and are constantly committed to assisting them. And with the mentorship program and the timeframes, we mentor a SMME or a supplier for as long as they need mentorship. There's no time frame. Some of them come on an ad hoc basis with 1 or 2 questions. Others need bi-monthly meetings and need to meet every 2 weeks, once a month. And we encourage that. There's no limit on how many times they can engage on the mentorship program or how long. Suppliers also move around on the mentorship program. So if they're relying on a mentee to talk them through, or mentor to talk them through financial compliance or how to do a business plan, versus the next month requiring assistance with marketing and how to do a label and how to do brand awareness, we then encourage them to sit in our marketing department. We then use our marketing company that we pay for, that feeds and works with Pick n Pay on Pick n Pay's marketing to support the SMME, and they come and sit within the Pick n Pay marketing space and get that assistance. Whilst we try and report an accurate number and try and put a value to the support that we're giving SMMEs, a lot of it is actually we're not able to accurately assess or put a value to, because a lot of it is time and resources that we give, valuable time of Pick n Pay employees, Boxer employees, and we don't quantify that time and put a value to it, which we then report on. So whilst it may be a spend of 4.3 billion, which we do acknowledge and agree is a number we need to constantly work at and look at and improve, that number is the best number that we can get with the data that we have and with the analytics and the data that we have. But to say it's an accurate number, I think it's a bit more, but we are trying, and we really are committed to working and assisting our SMMEs with that. Pick n Pay also has a bursary fund, which we supply and give the public, anyone needing assistance, as well as our employees. And that again is something that sits outside of Pick n Pay and outside of Boxer, because it's a separate entity, it's a trust, and that number isn't reported. That number that we sits outside of the financial reporting of Pick n Pay, because it's not within the structure of Pick n Pay itself. But over the last 40 years, we've assisted a lot of graduates. In the last 15, where I've been at Pick n Pay, not in my role as ESG executive, we've spent in excess of 56 million on bursaries to a whole range of institutions within the Western Cape. So it's UWC, Cape, the University of Cape Town, Stellenbosch, as well as Fort Hare, universities in the Eastern Cape, as well as at Northern Johannesburg. We have a learnership program with the University of Johannesburg, as well as the UCT Business School, which again sits outside of Pick n Pay and outside of Boxer, which is an entity, a registered entity that we use for trading, but that sits in a trust where we support entrepreneurs and people that are wanting to train to be business owners and to fund projects and community sustenance. But again, I'd like to just say, I really would like to encourage Boxer and our franchise executive to come and talk to you today, because it really is, it's an important aspect that I think we do need to highlight in the Boxer as well as the franchise space as to what those respective departments are doing and what we are doing as a group to be able to give you an adequate assessment and a view of the Pick n Pay group. I'm going to hand over to my colleague Mashinga, who's going to be talking to
just some of the
points that
detail.
I haven't addressed. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I just wanted to start off by saying the following. The world we live in has changed post-COVID. And I think it's so important as we are going as a government and big business to ensure that we all need to be self-critical of each other. So I think I just want to kick off by saying we come here telling you what we're doing, but we know that we need to do more. We've been employed by Pick n Pay now for the last 10 years. I'm an attorney by training, and I left behind my attorney role to come and help and be a part of growing this economy. So I thought I'd start off by saying that. I felt that I needed to make a career change, to stop sitting at the sidelines and really try and play my small part to creating the jobs that we talk about. The first thing that I want to mention is that we all need each other. Whichever political party we're representing, we need to put our hats on together. And I'm looking at the screen this morning and thinking about the amazing, smart ladies and women in this room. We have the solutions and we have the examples to go from. I'm inclined, because of my legal hat now, to go to Honorable Jacobs. The SARS Debt Relief Finance Scheme and the Department of Small Business Development COVID Relief, we supported that in COVID, Honorable Jacobs. But I can tell you now, it was cumbersome, it was difficult. And I do not know one SME that actually qualified for that funding. And what I'd like to do now is just read something to you in that context. We tried the application of the BIS, but the level of IP they wanted us to hand over was a concern. We were not prepared to divulge recipe formulation, implying that the recipe was asked for. They also expected us to hand over customer details and wanted interviews with our customers. That was a cause for concern, as we showed them our trade agreements with you, Pick n Pay, and all the other retailers. But yet, they wanted us their details that we really weren't relative, and I didn't understand. I think the biggest challenge is how long it takes to get funding. We are currently at a pace of innovation of products, and we cannot wait 2 to 3 years to get funding. We rather chose to walk away from the DTI. It is probably something that can be discussed with government, and I'm thinking it takes too long for applications to approve. We commend the government for what they're doing, but the pace at which the government is working to really unlock the grant funds that are available are not there. I just want to also mention, which I think is very important, I'll come here in respect of the community projects of peanut butter manufacturing. Honorable Hendricks, I'll really be very happy to support you. One of the things we learned over the last decade is partnering with people who are already doing stuff. Raymond Ackerman says, you have to go where the tea is being made. So Honorable, I'd like to suggest that that community be in touch with Debbie, who is the entrepreneur that I gave. She's very willing and open to give insights. But what's interesting, Honorable, what we find is that let that community start supplying. One of the things we know in COVID is that it was difficult to import peanuts because of what was happening with our borders and what was happening with getting that product in. The localization project, my colleague Hazel Pillay, who is the outstanding leader leading the clothing team, I'd like to please mention, if you could just put into your LinkedIn, into your browsers, she has partnered with local clothing manufacturers. And I do know that she has been on a journey the last 3 to 4 years of converting some of our imports into local. It's all up there, you can see. Honorable Matulelo, I think you made a very, very good point, and I think my colleague Vaughan Pierce talked about. We have been in partnership with Boxer, and we are doing work in the areas that you talked about, especially in Limpopo. And I'd like to please, Honorable Kunene, to please ask our colleague from Boxer to come and present. Finally, yes.
So okay, I'll just add.
Yeah, and then in terms of Honorable Lubengo, Vaughan did talk about the timeframes, and you wanted to ask for specific support. Now I'm going to just give you a quick story. Remember that as government, you issued certain products that could, certain businesses that needed to apply to trade during COVID. Do you remember that there were some liquor businesses, obviously, that weren't allowed to trade? One of the things we had to do internally is go into our books and really assess the fact that this business isn't trading, meaning it was shut down. So we did an assessment of how many people, warm bodies, are impacted in this business. Is it 5? Is it 10? Is it 20? And of course, the more impact, we stepped in to provide grant funding. We stepped in. Now, those are things you won't hear in the media. Those are things we had to do to save some of these businesses. In terms of the specific projects, Honorable Lubengo, again, we have the data. We didn't present it today because we don't have our colleague here. Honorable De Villiers, I think you made some really important points, and thank you for that constructive feedback. I'd just like to say, we have a supplier in our group, and I just want to mention she attends every single training program that we have. She's growing. She has tripled her revenue year on year. And what's interesting for me is that she continues to find value in the training that we're doing. So what training you say? You asked a very, very important question. We've partnered with other big businesses, SNG. We've partnered with people who come and help these SMEs to actually have financial records. Because when they're applying to the BIS and the DTI and the IDC, you're not going to look at them if we cannot do that. So again, back to you, Honorable Jacobs, let's look at tax incentives. The Income Tax Act has the certain sections on debt relief and the small business tax relief. It's difficult, even for somebody who is sitting at my level. Now I'm thinking we can do more. Our friends in Rwanda, and I'm just mentioning it as an example, have a one-stop shop for our small businesses to go and get compliant. So there's a lot of work that we can do together. You also mentioned the 10 steps, the one step that we have, which could be a barrier. Excellent point. When we started the program, there were no steps. We had to create them. So we're constantly revisiting them. So in the link, I will put where they are, and I'll take that back to my team, and I'll definitely relook at that. But again, Global Entrepreneurship Week or month is in the month of November. We know that this month, we're actually going to be inviting what we call excellence. Come and show us, we sell baked beans, how to do a financial record. We have mentors from our CFO, Marina, giving her time to an SME, and we know how much that would cost in the main market. Finally, I don't want to leave anybody out and be inclusive. Honorable April, I think I've mentioned that on the entrance requirements. Honorable Jacobs, one of the things that I really liked is you were mentioning your time starting out at Pick n Pay. Now I'm going to ask you a question. I say this with absolute respect. I have the honor and privilege of listening to these stories, and being 10 years and as young as I am blown away at how many people like you started out like that. So we know that Mr. Ackerman is a legend in his own way. At 92 years old, building a company that is turning 56 years old. Now, to Vaughan's point, we are not recording the Pick n Pay bursary stream. Perhaps we should. We're not stating those facts because maybe our investors and our stakeholders wants to know more. We've been very humble about what we do, but maybe it's time for us to just talk about it a little bit more. I think I'm going to end by saying we can always do more. This isn't a competition, it is a collaboration. Government, you need to make ways for us to do business better, whether we are a big business or small. And you have the capacity to do that, to make things better. Whether we're talking about a community in Elsis River or a community in Langa, you have the resources to do that. And I'll end there. Thank you.
I'd just like to say, to add to what Mashinga is saying, I really, really would like to thank each and every one of you for the opportunity for us to, well, for you to be frank and honest and open with us, to have the ability to be transparent in your views and where you think we need to improve, what your honest assessment of, you know, the disclosures we've made, the accuracy of the figures that we've published, your view on what we're doing, all of which is appreciated, all of it is noted, and we will commit to working and improving. I think this is the first forum that I've been exposed to in my time as the executive of ESG. I think it's really an important forum for us to engage with the likes of you all and honorable ministers and alike. And I think to get feedback from yourself, to engage with all of you on your personal stories and otherwise, to get recommendations, to get feedback, because we are committed, but we do need to be kept in check. We do need to be aligned. We do need to be reminded of our role in society and the contribution we make. But the fact that a lot of you here can attest that you know the brand, you know Pick n Pay, some of you have come through Pick n Pay, you acknowledge the fact that it supported and assisted your families to be the person and the people you are today, is a testament of who we are, what we are, and the values that we have. We are trying, we are committed to trying and doing better. Please, we are not negating that. We know the level of responsibility that we have. And in life, when you have a lot and you are looking after a lot, the responsibility is a lot. The responsibility lies with us as management, as the executive of Pick n Pay, to not only look after our staff, and we've got 85,000 staff with 5 or 6 dependents per staff member, as I've said. We've also got to look after the communities. And I think it's important that we, as I said, thank you for this opportunity. It's the first that I've been exposed to. It's a learning. I now have a sense of the type of questions you all ask, the level of detail that you require, the level of insights that you require. And I think also having understood the intent of this committee and what we're trying to achieve together as business and private partnership, it's important. And I really, really am grateful for the opportunity to present to you this morning. Because I think interactions and engagements like this are important to get a sense of where you all are, as well as for you to know more about what we are doing. To Mashinga's point, we do need to speak more, we do need to shout more, but we've been a very, very, Mr. and Mrs. Ackerman for many, many years have not been the type of people to publicize and to really make noise of all the community stuff that we're doing. And again, it's something we're working on. It's something we are expanding on, and it's something that, unlike our competitors that shout about the small things that they do, we as Pick n Pay also need to grow and learn and market all of that. But in closing, I really would like to thank you all for the opportunity and look forward to engaging in future forums like this. I think it's important to get almost a water test or benchmark of where we sit and how we fare in comparison to others, and also to keep us accountable as a retailer, as an employer, and as a huge stakeholder in the South African economy. But I really would like to implore and encourage all of you to please engage and also work with us in whatever area you are managing. Highlight opportunities that we need to explore and look into. show us the way, encourage us to explore areas of the country that you feel our presence isn't felt or our expansion hasn't gone there. As I've now explained to you, Box is part of Pick n Pay. We're one group. We have got a national footprint. There's not a town in this country that hasn't got either a Pick n Pay, a QualiSave, or a Boxer. So with your guidance, with your assistance, and with your direction, I think we can touch every corner of this country and make a difference. And I would encourage you to please connect with us, partner with us, and work with us to making a better country and a better South Africa. Thank you.
Thank you, Pick n Pay. Thank you so much. Firstly, I would like to thank your cooperation when you have responded to our call. I think as honorable members, we have gained a lot, and I am also thankful to honorable members. I would like to inform you that this committee, all of us from different parties, we have got one common goal of defending our people on the ground. The issue of unemployment, poverty, and inequality is still rising. So some of the frustration will make us sometimes to be a little bit harsher, but please bear with us that the pressure we're having outside there sometimes pushes us to behave like we are behaving, but you must just tolerate us. We have gained a lot. And also the issue of modernization of the market itself. So we really appreciate, we didn't know that we may still call others role players to come and explain more to us, because our role is to do oversight, but to strengthen also the issue of private partnership. I think that one is key. So thank you so much. We believe we'll digest what we got today, and even need that we call you again with those other role players, will do so. But thank you for the well-presented presentation and cooperation. You will hear from us. So we didn't know that Boxer is also playing a role, but we are quite clear today. We'll know where to touch, but we'll keep in touch with you, because the issue of the red tape, the issue of funding is crucial. I'm happy because you were also demonstrating on your slides on the issues of the projects we are busy with. And I'm glad we've got a young, energetic lady. Keep it up, baby girl. We are proud as Imbokoda to represent us there as women. I can see that you are focused. So thank you so much, the two of you. We really appreciate your presence. And the honorable members, allow me to release them so that we can proceed with our business. You are released. Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
so
you
much.
so much.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
You. Bra King, can you go back to our agenda, please? I would invite Sbu to present the petition report.
Braking. Sharing rights, Braking. There you are. Okay, thank you, Honorable Chairperson. Morning, honorable members, morning, colleagues. Morning to the
independent field technicians that are in the platform today. Chair, I just want to propose, Chairperson, that if the committee allows, that perhaps for today we only consider and maybe allow a 7-day period where members will go through the document and make inputs, which will then be incorporated into the document for adoption maybe next week. It's just a proposal, Chairperson. You or members are at liberty to overrule me. But Chairperson, what I will do for today would just to highlight sections of the document, and we'll also go through the observations and recommendations the same way we usually do with the budget vote report, the BRRR report, or any other report that are presented to the portfolio committee. Chair, the document, it's about 20 pages in total. It's basically a synthesis, Chairperson, or a summary of all the portfolio committee meetings that we have had over the duration of considering this petition. It includes presentations by the IFTs and also presentation by the Telkom Group or OpenServe. Then it will include documents that have been submitted to the portfolio committee by Telkom and also by the IFTs. It's a report of the Portfolio Committee on Small Business Development on the petition from independent field technicians regarding contractual disagreement with Telkom OpenServe, referred to the Portfolio Committee by the Speaker of Parliament for consideration. The date is today, Chairperson. That is subject to change. The first page of the report, Chair, it includes introduction. The Portfolio Committee on Small Business Development, it's a referral that we've received from the Speaker of the National Assembly. The petition is in accordance with Section 17 of the Constitution and Clause 350B of the Rules of the National Assembly, meaning it's not a special petition, but it's a public petition. 350B means a public petition. It was submitted to the Speaker by independent field technicians. Alternatively, we call them the parties, both Telkom and OpenServe. Throughout the document, if you refer to parties, that would mean we are referring to IFT companies and Telkom OpenServe. Then on page 2, Chairperson, it provides a little bit of background to indicate the origination of the independent field technicians, which was started out of skilled workers who had either resigned, retrenched, or took early retirement with a promise of assistance from Telkom to set up their small businesses for subcontracting to the telecoms giant. All in all, Chair, the number of IFTs that were originally part of the program were 33, as at financial year 2022, there are 31 IFTs that are active in partnering or supplying Telkom OpenServe. This matter, Chairperson, was, from what we have learned, was first reported to the Department of Small Business Development, wherein the number of complainants were 11, and it was later referred to Parliament as a petition. Then when we received it in Parliament, then the number had actually dropped from 11 to 7. It later dropped from 7 to 4. This is the template or the table we received from our colleagues at Telkom OpenServe, which indicates the number of IFT companies that were originally in dispute. By the time the matter was referred to a portfolio committee, that number had dropped to 4 aggrieved IFTs. However, Chairperson, I think it's important as well to note that all 4 aggrieved IFT companies are still active in providing services on the commodity contract and have also consented to their contracts being renewed up to February 2023. This was confirmed, Chairperson, to the committee in writing by Telkom OpenServe. So I think, well, I would say this is one of the positives that maybe a portfolio committee has managed to extract out of this entire process. Not to say that the matters are resolved, it's still a stalemate, but at least there are signs of a progress here and there. 2.1, Chair, we just give a narration or a summary of the main reasons for dispute, which really, from what we have observed, the dispute emanate from the 2017 amendments of the contract, which included a number of unfair clauses, such as the first failure rate, days to 30 days, non-payables on repeats, service level agreements, penalties, including net promoter score. Chair, we were informed during the course of our interaction with the IFTs and Telkom that the aggrieved IFT companies were not pleased with the new business rules introduced in the contract. They disputed the changes made. In response to the disagreement, further amendments were made to the contract to ease and provide support to the IFTs. They are listed in point forms, some of the changes that were made by Telkom OpenServe in order to accommodate the IFTs, which is really one of the reasons why that number dropped from 11 to 4. Then in terms of the summary, Chair, of what the Portfolio Committee has done since we started interacting with the IFTs and Parliament in relation to this petition, we had the inaugural meeting in relation to the petition was held on 16 February. In that meeting, Chair Honorable Kruger, who is the sponsor of the petition, made some introductory remarks. He said the case of the IFT's experience with Telkom has been on the agenda for quite some time. Chair, you will recall that at the beginning of this session, I did indicate to members of the committee that the challenge was this petition, in terms of the date, when we began to consider it, it was older than 3 years, simply because it was first referred to the Portfolio Committee of Communications. Then it was later discovered that no, it actually belongs to the Portfolio Committee on Small Business Development. It was referred to our committee towards the end of 2021. Then what we did, we began scheduling meetings as of February 2022. Then from there was this meeting on February 22, Chairperson, where we received inputs from the IFTs, aggrieved IFTs. Miss Evelyn Smith was there of Sudan Projects. Mr. Sitembele Tolo was there. Mr. Darian CT was there. Mr. Johnny Mahatla of Mzansi Brondberg was there. They actually all narrated their experiences and the type of treatment that they've received from OpenServe for the attention of the Portfolio Committee. Then on the 30th of March 2022, Chair, also via virtual platform, we hosted Telkom OpenServe to sort of, give us their take on the petition. Mr. Jani, who is the executive government relations, was leading Telkom delegation at the time. In that meeting, Chair, just to summarize, the committee acknowledged in that meeting that indeed Telkom OpenServe had not been part of the initial meeting with IFT companies. That now is the meeting that took place on the 16th of February. Telkom was not there. It was just a meeting for the committee to interact with the IFTs. Was not part of the initial meeting with IFT companies, wherein a number of accusations had been leveled against the organization. By organization, I mean OpenServe. There was an overriding sense of displeasure from members of the committee who felt that Telkom OpenServe might have consciously evaded responding to issues raised by IFTs in the petition. Members of the committee in that meeting, Chair, charged that it was common cause that the main purpose of the engagement was to tackle the petition before it. There was therefore a consensus from this meeting, from all participants, that the subject matter needed to be explored further, and suggested another meeting in which both the IFTs and Telkom OpenServe would be invited so that the committee could have more time to listen to both sides. The chairperson of the committee concluded the meeting by calling for the organization to facilitate the inquiry with aggrieved IFTs and utilize all internal resources and mechanisms to find a win-win solution to that law. Chair, I still remember in our first meeting that there was a sense of acknowledgement on our part that due to the limited authority of the portfolio committee or parliament, in terms of enforcing contracts, a portfolio committee can only use an art of persuasion to persuade both parties to come to a common understanding in as far as this particular matter was concerned. So in all the meetings that we have had, Chair, the committee had actually tried to persuade both parties to engage, to interact, to try and resolve the matter amicably without really, resorting to litigation. By the way, IFT companies actually informed the portfolio committee right at the beginning of these sessions that they don't have resources to hire attorneys to assist them with this particular matter. The third meeting, Chair, it's also a summary of progress report. In this meeting, Chair, we had invited both Telkom OpenServe and independent field technicians. That meeting was held on the 18th of May 2022. The Telkom delegation was led by Dr. Siyabonga Mahlangu, who is the Telkom Group Executive, Regulatory Affairs and Government Relations. In this meeting, Chair, the committee was informed, or it was given assurances by Dr. Mahlangu, that following the meeting of the 30th of March, Telkom OpenServe delegation had gone back to the drawing board and constituted a committee known as the Supplier Compliance Management Council, SCMC, as an escalation mechanism to process the complaints from the IFT companies. According to what we were informed by Dr. Mahlangu, this council would consist of different professionals who sit together and deal with these matters on an individual basis. The chairperson of that committee was Mr. Sean Bosch, who also made a couple of remarks in this meeting. He outlined the 6 key matters that have been resolved between OpenServe and IFTs. He indicated that the mechanism that has been put in place, which is the SCMC, specifically to address this matter, seemed to be yielding positive results. However, he humbly requested that the process be given more time to resolve the remaining sticky issues. In other words, even though there were a couple of issues that had been resolved, there were some that were still being discussed by OpenServe and IFT companies. The committee was receptive to Telkom OpenServe's approach to solving the disputes. However, the IFTs who had also been invited to this meeting were not entirely happy with the proposed course of action. According to Ms. Smith of Sudan Projects, who responded on behalf of the IFT companies, Telkom OpenServe fell short of addressing the core issues that gave rise to the petition, and their presentation was centered on the present, discussing neither the past nor the petition. In this meeting, Chair, the committee reminded the meeting that negotiations by their very nature are difficult and uncomfortable process of give and take. Hence, the meeting resolved that it was not unreasonable to give Telkom OpenServe additional time to engage with the IFTs with a view to cracking the remaining matters. Chair, the last meeting, which was, I would call this a concluding session or the last session, both Telkom was there, IFTs were there. The meeting took place on the 7th of September 22. This was a deadline the committee had set itself to consider all the inputs or submissions from both parties, finalize and prepare a report to the Speaker of Parliament. In this meeting, Mr. Jani, Telkom executive, led a Telkom delegation. In this meeting, Chair, he thanked the committee for the work it has done in facilitating meetings with aggrieved IFTs companies, especially the guidance and leadership demonstrated all the way through the mediation process. Also in attendance, Chair, were 3 representatives from IFT companies that had resolved to participate in the SCMC. You will recall, Chair, in fact, I do indicate on the report that one of the IFTs decided to pull out of the process and opted to revert back to the portfolio committee. As a result, we do have a communique that we received from Mr. Tsolo with regards to that, giving us reasons why they decided to pull out of the process. So it's only 3 that went through with the process of the SCMC. Then in this meeting, Chair, we received the final submission from Telkom, from SCMC through Telkom, outlining all the steps that they've undertaken in terms of resolving the disputes. Figure 1, it's just a graph or a process map that was followed by Telkom in trying to resolve the matter. Number 1, what Telkom did was to arrange an engagement with IFT Supplier Compliance SMC. It was the meeting between SCMC and the IFTs. The IFTs companies were invited by SCMC on the 29th of June 2022. They were expected to accept or propose convenient time to engage. IFP companies were requested to provide supporting documentation 2 days prior to the meeting for the council to go through and have clear mandate on what is payable and the reason thereof. The meetings were scheduled from 5 July to 19 July 2022. The details of the engagement, honorable members, were also shared with the committee. We do have the report with regards to that, with regards to those meetings. The engagement by the SCMC did not achieve the intended results, and through the consultations with the IFT companies that were participating in this process, it was agreed with the 3 of the 4 companies that an independent auditor will be appointed to review the terms and application thereof and provide recommendations that the SCMC to find resolution. As indicated earlier, honorable members, that 1 IFT companies, which is Follow Electrical, opted to be excluded from the SCMC process and took no further part, but escalated the matter back to the committee. The committee has in its possession a correspondence from Follow Electrical. Then the next step was the appointment of the auditor, which is MMQS Mays Consultants. This auditor was appointed by Telkom on Monday, the 25th of July, to conduct an independent review to assist in providing recommendation to the resolution. The appointment was done through procurement governance within the Telkom group. Then the third step, invitation to IFTs to present their dispute to the auditor. The auditors sent out a memorandum on the 10th of August 2022, indicating to the IFT companies of their appointment and inviting them to a session to present to them on their dispute. That was the third stage. The fourth one, the auditors had engagements with Telkom OpenServe to request clarity on details on questions they had regarding the contract history and process of the payment files. This meeting was held on the 17th of August 2022. The fifth step was the auditors presented their draft report to Telkom OpenServe on the 2nd of September 2022, with the final report submission on the 6th of September. Remember, they were rushing to meet our deadline of the 7th of September, which we had set during the third meeting. The audit approach took analysis of the documents received, other investigations that would assist, and other information necessary to assist in the process. Limitation to the audit, however, was that no field visits were conducted given the period in question. This was in 2022. Some of these incidents took place in maybe more than 3 to 4 years ago. And some documents could not be verified, thus no assessments could be done. The auditors made it clear to both Telkom, Openserve, and IFTs throughout the engagement that they are independent and the audit outcome is based on the information received. Findings after various consultations in the auditor's report talks to the representation of the IFTs and representation of the meetings. The outcome and proceedings are captured in the auditor's report, the summary of which was presented to the portfolio committee. This was done, Chair, on the 7th of September. The committee, we do have in our position a report from Telkom. Table 2 below is a summary of the auditor's recommendation. The auditor concluded that non-payable orders and FFR fines that were found to be outside the 30-day period as per the agreement and understanding should be considered for payment. Further investigation to be considered for orders that fell prior to the 1st of September 2017 agreement to ascertain the bulk orders, FFRs, with generated references could not be audited due to reference numbers. So table 2, Chair and honorable members, it's just an indication of the recommendations that were tabled by auditors in as far as the 3 IFT companies are concerned. Then action steps by SCMC after receiving the report of the auditor. It reviewed and accepted all the recommendations from the auditors, and all outstanding items and payments were to be actioned and processed by end of September 2022 in line with the payment run. What we did, Chair, from our side was to follow up with Telkom. If this was done, in fact, it was indeed confirmed that the payments were done. Then the last step was Telkom Openserve reviewed the recommendations of the auditors and prepared the report, the same report which formed the basis of the discussion with the committee in our meeting that was held on the 7th of September 2022. In the meeting, Telkom Openserve maintained that the process followed was deemed clear and unbiased to the IFT companies. In the same meeting, Chair, the last meeting, we had invited IFT companies to be present so that they can hear for themselves if they agree or not agree with Telkom. Then what we did was the presentation by Openserve was followed by the IFT company representatives, largely to give them platform to indicate their acceptance of Telkom's approach and steps taken. Mr. Tolo, who is the director of Follow, was there. He made his remarks. Ms. Smith, she was also present. She made her remarks. Who is the second respondent in our report? The third respondent was Mr. Muhlalucha, who was also there. He made his remarks. Then after the IFT companies were done making their remarks, it was the opportunity then to the members of the committee to decide whether they accept or they reject a Telkom proposal. Following submissions by both Telkom Openserve and IFTs, it was left to the members of the committee to give direction and way forward. The first respondent was Honorable Kruger, who's also the sponsor of the petition. He reiterated his earlier position that he was not pleased at how Telkom has decided to conclude the dispute. He contended that this was a typical case of corporate bullying. He found it quite extraordinary that Telkom Openserve had spent a lot of money acquiring auditors to do auditing when instead that money could have been used to assist IFT companies. Ms. Honorable Hlomelang also concurred with the previous speaker by questioning the money that had been paid to the auditors. She postulated that the portfolio committee has a daunting task to put an end to this injustice. She was also concerned at the cost of procuring auditors. Honorable Member Mtenjane agreed that this is a case of corporate bullying. Other member who came through was Honorable April, who noted the submission and the fact that some IFTs decided not to be part of the collective of IFTs before Parliament. Here, honorable members, we are referring to the 7 IFT companies that decided to pull out. We do not really, as the portfolio committee, know why those why those IFT companies decided to pull out. It would be beneficial to look into whether these IFTs had not been intimidated or threatened. Honorable April bemoaned the behavior of Telkom as unbecoming of a SOC. The manner in which the contracts had been structured were such that only Telkom OpenServe may derive maximum benefit at the expense of small businesses. The contracts were clearly missing an element of development. The next respondent was Honorable Jacobs, who was the acting chairperson in this meeting. He remarked that the meeting was not the first on the matter and he felt disrespected by OpenServe. Mr. Jacobs in this meeting did not appreciate the fact that both companies had sent in junior staff. This would be Telkom and OpenServe had sent in junior staff, whereas they had expected the CEOs or the senior manager like Dr. Mahlang. The representatives present in the meeting, they were instructed to report back to their seniors that the committee had expected that they would be present for the presentation and for accountability. The acting chairperson further said that he personally called Dr. Mahlangu and asked him not to outsource the accountability and responsibility. It became clear, honorable members, that they continually undermine this House of Parliament. The acting chairperson was frustrated and stated that he did not want broken stories anymore. The committee needed to table its report in Parliament and ask Parliament to exercise oversight. Then, Chair, that's how we concluded this particular meeting. It was a stalemate, really. There was no tangible or credible agreement that was reached between the two parties. As you can see above, the IFT companies were adamant that Telkom is refusing to come to the party. And on the other side, Telkom was adamant that from their part, they have done their work. So it was really left to the committee to decide on the way forward. So what we did, Chair, in terms of our observations, this is what we had said. It's still a draft, Chair and honorable members. Like I indicated or suggested earlier on, members may defer the adoption of this report to next week so that we can then receive maybe written input from members of the committee. The Portfolio Committee on Small Business Development, having considered the petition against Telkom OpenServe from the directors of Sundan Projects, Mzansi Broadband, ACCS Telecoms, and Follow Electricals, alternatively, independent field technicians, with reference to contractual disputes and allegations of corporate bullying, referred to the Portfolio Committee on Small Business Development by the Speaker of the National Assembly. Hereby record the following observations. The first one, Chair, the committee notes that parties could not find common ground on a number of issues stemming from the revised contract of 2017. Equally, it is observed that there are areas where parties registered progress, including extension of contracts to 2023. The committee is mindful that facilitating disputes between big and small businesses is part of its broader mandate. It is inevitable. The committee noted from the beginning that owing to its limited powers, it may not be feasible to achieve all the predetermined outcomes due to the complexity of the issues. The second observation, Chair, throughout its engagement with Telkom OpenServe and IFT companies, The committee noted that fundamental intents of the enterprise and supplier development were completely omitted in Telkom OpenServe's approach to IFT companies. Telkom OpenServe treated IFT companies like any other big business. The developmental approach was totally missing. It remains unclear to the committee how or what is the nature of support Telkom OpenServe provides to its subcontractors, particularly IFT companies. Because from where we're sitting, Chairperson, it looks like these are just contracts. You know, it's a telecom giving contracts to IFT companies, but it's not necessarily an enterprise and supplier development as we know it. So we are making an observation around the Chairperson, and underneath we'll make a recommendation. The committee notes that during the 5th Parliament, telecom sector was engaged extensively owing to the growing number of complaints that the committee had received at the time. There had also been complaints leveled against Telkom. In other words, Chair, this is not the first time we are dealing with Telkom. They were there even during the 5th administration for different complaints other than this one. A sizable number of small enterprises have over time resolved to approach Parliament to intervene on various commercial disputes. The next observation, Chair, the effort by the former member of the committee, Mr. Toby Chance, that of introducing small enterprise ombud service bill is noted by the committee during this current administration. The private member bill had been introduced in the National Assembly as a Section 75 and was published in the Government Gazette number 41623 of 10 May 2018. Furthermore, as the committee remarked in its recent budget review and recommendations report, that in light of a variety of challenges bedeviling the small enterprise sector, a segmented approach to the development of the National Small Enterprise Bill should be given priority. The Department of Small Business Development failure to refer the National Small Enterprise Amendment Bill to Parliament as pledged in its consecutive annual performance plan since 2015 should not be accepted nor used as an excuse. Small business sector is vulnerable and prone to big business manipulation. The committee must explore alternative options to cushion the sector. Then on recommendations, Chairperson, it's only 5 of them. The first one being, having noted the growth in the number of grievances, disputes, and 1 petition referred to the committee since inauguration, the committee supports the 5th Parliament recommendation that Small Enterprise Commission or Ombudsman must be created through an Act of Parliament. Chair, what we had done during the 5th Parliament, we had deliberately made a recommendation around the commission because if you look at how the ombuds is structured, unless if it's going to be an ombudsman that is created in terms of an act of Parliament, then we can go for that. But the commission, we specifically stated, Chair, that it should be modeled from, for instance, the National Credit Act, which provides for the creation of the commission, which also provides for the creation of the tribunal. We also made reference to the Companies Act, Chairperson, that the same commission should be, we can look at how the Companies Act is structured, where you would have a competition commission, you would have a tribunal that resolves around the disputes emanating from fights between a company to company. So that's what we had said during the 5th Parliament, Chairperson. But then the department resolved to come up with the term the ombudsman, which is for us was a toned down recommendation of the portfolio committee. Then the second recommendation, Chair, as envisaged during the 5th Parliament when sessions between big and small businesses were held with a view to ascertain the extent of corporate bullying and victimization of small businesses. The committee should consider the committee bill. We are saying, Chair, during this current administration, this is one of the things we should consider going forward. The process may include synthesizing small enterprise Ombud Service Bill. This is the bill, honorable members, that it's a private members bill that had been tabled or introduced by then Member of Parliament, Honorable Chance, and the component of the National Small Enterprise Amendment Bill. The National Small Enterprise Amendment Bill, honorable members, it incorporates a section that deals with the Small Enterprise Ombud Service. As you may be aware by now, that bill was gazetted for public comments in December 2020. Then after that, we don't know what happened. So the recommendation here in a nutshell, honorable members, is to say, let's rather go for a committee bill. On 5.3, at the commencement of its term in 2019, the committee had noted and recommended that a particular focus must be given to ESD and other BEE codes of good practice, which are currently being used to comply or a tick box exercise, adding little value to the small enterprise ecosystem. The Department of Small Business Development must reinforce internal capacity with a view to intensify private sector partnerships in order to harness ESD good intents and monitor its implementation. This project, honorable members, the IFTs, it's one of the projects that, in the view of the committee, lacked assistance from the Department of Small Business Development. We're not even sure whether the department was aware of this particular issue. In fact, we don't know what exactly happened after this matter was referred to the department, because at some point, the Department of Small Business Development was given an opportunity to intervene between IFT companies and Telkom, but we don't know if going forward, the department managed to assist the IFTs going forward or not. Small enterprises participating in various ESD initiatives oftentimes require government support. For instance, cost incurred by IFT companies of hiring vehicles. This is one of the contentious issues, honorable members, that when the revised agreement was negotiated between IFT companies, OpenServe, and the third parties, IFTs had been excluded from those negotiations. For instance, Telkom decided to engage Thrift, which charged IFT companies a lot of money. These could have been avoided if the department was working closely with Telkom OpenServe. The last one, Chair, having noted its limitations, I'm talking about the committee here, powers to enforce contracts, lack of powers to enforce contracts. The committee will nonetheless continue to monitor developments between IFT companies and Telkom OpenServe. Chair, the companies, from what we know from Telkom OpenServe, the companies, their contracts have been extended until 2023. Maybe from our side again, even if you adopt this petition, but that should not necessarily mean that our work is done. We should continue monitor the developments to make sure that the IFTs are not given a raw deal going forward. It's also our responsibility, Chair, as the committee, to make sure that all the areas or the costs that could be carried forward by the Department of Small Business Development, we examine those and make sure that the Department of Small Business Development is coming on board to assist the IFT companies. Then the last one, Chair, the Portfolio Committee thanked the independent field technicians for having took time and effort to lodge the dispute in the form of a petition, the report to be considered. Chair, let me stop there for now, and then I will take inputs from members. Thank you.
Thank you, Sbu. Before you present the report, you requested something. I would like to bounce this to members, and I think it is in order that we don't consider it today. We go and look at it and make some input layers with the administration. And then in our next meeting, we go and adopt the report. So I'm also selling this idea to honorable members that let's agree to that request. Honorable members, are we in agreement?
Chairperson, it's Honorable April. I'm in agreement. I think it's a
Agreed, Chair.
very progressive request.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So,
Madam Chair, Madam
yes,
Chair.
yes.
And unfortunately, I'm not in agreement. This case is too serious for us to water it now down to the end. So I think as committee, we need to debate this matter and then establish a way forward. So I would rather see that we discuss it on this platform, and then I mean, I don't have a problem to agree on the report next week, but I think we need some discussions today. Thank you.
Other honorable members, because my understanding was that we're going to look at it because we have just received it tonight. And then next week we'll engage and add on those recommendations. I think that's the position. Not that we're saying we're deferring it and then when it comes back, we adopt it. We'll have to deliberate on it, as you are saying.
Chair, if I may.
Yes.
Chair, I think we all in agreement, Honorable Kruger, that we share the report and the importance of this. I think what we need to do is just a little bit of time. So, Chair, if we support the officials, let us say that we really appreciate the intense report that they've done, but we need to also go through it. So, I'm asking Honorable Kruger also, with your indulgence, let's keep the debate for next week. Let's get popular broad support. I think all of us in agreement with the report, but I think and the recommendations, but let's defer it for next week. I think time is against us this week. There's a lot of issues at hand, but Honorable Kruger, we can be assured that we all, or let me speak on behalf of the ANC, we support this process and the need of these recommendations. So let's give us a bit more time and then we'll take a proper debate next week. That's our submission, Chair.
Thank you. Other honorable member? Yes.
Yes, Madam Chair, I don't have a problem with that proposal, as long as we slot an item in on the agenda so that we can have enough time to debate this issue. Thank you, because I'm not 100% comfortable that this case is closed. It's far from closed, and Telkom is putting some blinds over our eyes, and we need to talk about this. Thank you.
Reserve that for next week, Honorable Kruger. That's why we are saying we need ample time to do that. Thank you for understanding. Thank you for understanding. We are deferring it to the next meeting. Let us go and look at it, and then we'll come and debate it that particular day. We're going to have a slot on it. Thank you, honorable members.
Chair.
Okay. Yes.
Just a quick one from my side, Chair, but it would be good though, Chair, if in the meantime, members do send their inputs so that we then begin to incorporate their input into the documents. And also maybe areas where maybe issues are not clearly reflected accurately, or so that we can correct those. And also, Chair, you know, from what we have done, looking at really the mandate of the committee and Parliament, you know, our hands are tied. You know, I hope members will take that into account, you know, going forward. I thought I should just indicate that, Chairperson. Thank you.
Thank you. I think you were loud and clear. Let's input. We have got a lot of issues, but we want to deal with this matter extensively. So, because unfortunately in Parliament, honorable members, we don't have that petition committee. In the legislature, it is a full complement of that particular committee, which it is flexible to can do whatever it is supposed to do. But we are taking that mandate from the speaker, because once it has been deferred to us to deal with it, we need to deal with it thoroughly, but not also forgetting also to do our mandate in the committee. So let's input, let's have some exchange with our officials, and then when we come into that particular day, we're going to debate it extensively so that we satisfied ourselves. Thank you so much. Then we'll move to the next. We'll move now to the next item on the agenda. Can you take us through, Braking? Thank you, Sbu.
Thanks.
Chairperson, these are it's a consideration of minutes.
Yes, you can move them page by page because we received them, so that we do some correction. Page 1. Any correction, honorable members? Page 2. Any corrections? Page 3. Any corrections? Thank you. Can I have a mover for the adoption of the minutes, honorable members? Honorable members, can we have a mover for the adoption of the minutes?
Chairperson,
Yes, Honorable Libengo.
I move for the adoption of this minutes.
Thank you. Thank
Thank
you.
I
Any
like
second?
to second. I wanted to say I like to move it, but now I second.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Braking, take us back to the agenda. The minutes are duly adopted.
Now, the chair, there's another set. I think
I was not chairing. I will
I
allow
think
the
Mr.
Honorable.
Jacobs still, yeah.
Yes, Honorable Jacobs, can you take us through because I was not in?
Okay, Chair, I'll take us through. Any corrections? Tracking, you can go a little bit faster.
In 300 meters, turn right. In 100 meters, turn right. Turn right.
There are Mr. Jacobs.
Okay, members, there you have the minutes. Can I get a mover as a true reflection of our meeting? Sorry, can I get a seconder? Members?
I move, Comrade Faiz. Honorable
Thank you,
Faiz.
Comrade Lang. Can I get a seconder? Honorable Lubengo.
I second, Chair.
Thank you. Thank you. Chair, the minutes are duly adopted. I hand over back to you, Chair.
Thank you. King, can you take us back? That was the last item.
Yes, Chairperson.
Thank you so much, honorable members, for the deliberation right from the first presentation. I appreciate. Let's go and deal with this presentation, and let's exchange notes with our officials as requested, and then we'll have a slot where we'll have a lot of time to engage on the matter. The meeting stand adjourned. Thank you so much.
Recording stopped.
Chairperson.